There he is. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I got you. Can you hear me?
Oh
All
yeah,
right.
man. Thanks for getting here. I like that back. Is that a virtual
No, that's
back?
real.
We all know. We know where you're at. Thanks for hopping on, man. I know your time is precious, and but we are all super grateful that you would give us a little bit of time. So thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir. Of course. Definitely for you, Marty.
I know we had sent you a few questions. I just want to jump right into it so we can get every ounce of Edward we can. So, but I just want to start off with I think we sent you like really the theme here. We got our leaders here. We got key leaders. We got AOs. We got Frank Brenes is in here. We got David Alvaretto over here pouring into us too. So we've talked to the founders and we've talked to Kimbrell and we got Delaney on here and you and we're just grateful, man. And you guys are just pouring into us. But this is really about trying to help all of us get to that next level, in the business. And so, man, I just want to see if you can just highlight just where, you were there and you're killing it. We admire, respect you, but, we're also looking for like, what's the practical steps that we all need to be doing at any level to help get us to that next level?
Practical state. And as I was reading over that one, I mean, the the thing that I think everyone in the room there, myself included, the owners and founders, everyone who's at that 120 level and above, the ones who are doing it and being consistent with moving forward, see it as a stepwise function, right? Everyone's always looking like you guys are here at this leadership retreat, and you're hoping to get that silver bullet, that one takeaway, and you definitely can get those from an event like this. But what I caution people on is that anytime you're trying to build something great, you have to lay one brick at a time, right? And if you're thinking about like, okay, so what is my next step? What are some key things that I can do to get myself to that next level? It's really in looking at your mentors and looking at those that are in the places that you want to be and kind of figure out where you are in line with the journey that they've been on, because that's the whole idea that we have mentorship is we're trying to follow behind someone else's footsteps so we don't step on the same landmines. And then it's about taking those right steps then, right? The right steps at that time that allow you to move forward and hopefully move forward more quickly than someone who's gone before you, so that you can get there in a shorter amount of time. And you don't have to run into as many landmines and hit as many sand traps, so to speak, as others. So, and as long as you're doing that, then you're going to be able to then start seeing and learning much more quickly what are the things that you need to do in order to get your business, your organization, your personal development to that next level. So, I don't want to give or can't really give like for each individual person, like what's the one thing that they can do right now. But the one thing that they can do right now is really find that next step, that next place that their mentor was or was working towards when they were in the amount of APV, the amount of leaders you currently have, the amount of income that you're currently making, and finding like what was the next step that they did to get to level up, to go to that next growth level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the thing that I think is always hard to remember is like you were going door to door, selling paper apps, faxing in applications, right? You're always where you were at. And so what was it for you that transition that took you from like, I hope this is going to work to I know I'm going to make this work?
I wish I could say that there's like one key moment that I could think back on and say like this was the moment, because here's the thing, even where I'm at today, and I think Frank, we were talking about this on the phone the other day. Even where I'm at today, there are points that I don't know if it's gonna work. Like not necessarily like my business is gonna like disappear tomorrow, but like what I'm pushing for next, right? The next level up thing that I'm trying to do. So it's like, is there that one moment where you're just gonna be like, oh, yep, I don't have to have faith anymore. I'm all good. Like it's going to work out perfectly at this point in time. No, there's definitely no point like that. It's about like how can you continue to strengthen your resolve, strengthen your belief that whatever you're working on, whatever you're doing for your business, you're going to make it. You're going to get to that next level, to that next point. The goal is worth it. The why is worth it. You know, there are points where I would say, Marty, that I breathed a sigh of relief, right? Like whenever you break out that first like solid agency owner that you're just like Brian Delaney. I was like, okay, finally, I got like a running buddy that I know is gonna be with me, and we're doing this thing together, right? Like I have a partner for life in this person. That was a moment of relief because then it wasn't just all me by myself. You know, breaking out as a well, for me, this shows how long I've been around. Breaking out as a 110 when it was 110. You know, that was a sigh of relief. I was like, okay, hit that top contract level. And then, of course, breaking out my first 120 and then the second 120. And then now, you know, having recently broken out my third 120 and, you know, now he's a 130. You know, there are some of those moments that give you just that extra amount of relief. But if you're pushing for something more, if you're pushing for that next level, there's always going to be, you know, this am I going to get it? Is it going to work? Like this, if you're doing something great, if you're trying to build something big, you're always going to need faith. You're always going to have faith in yourself, faith in the systems that you have, faith in the people that you surround yourself with in order to actually make it and get across and keep growing as you continue to move forward.
No, I love that. So, I love that you say 120. I was like, yeah, it is 130. You know that, right? I know. I don't know what the mail is slow over there in Puerto Rico, but no, I'm just giving you a hard time. No, it's all right. So what are the measurables? One of the things we love, we got to hear you at AO Academy, and one of the things, like you are business minded here, right? A lot, I mean, it is personal growth and development and read this and do that, but like it's also a business. So when we're looking at this, what are the measurables that you think are the most important that key leaders, AOs, agents need to be focusing on? Oh, and you are muted. Okay.
Yeah. Key measurables. Yeah, I was sending my daughter to ballet. That's what I'm having to do this outdoors this afternoon. That was I thought I was gonna be here at like 3:15 and jump on at 3:30, but yeah, that didn't happen. But key measurables. You know, one of the things that I always really force myself to track, especially for my business, is always going to be like, what is the oh wow, got some kids over here. It's always going to be what level of placement, you know, quality of business. That's one of the things that I think we don't really resolve ourselves around as often as we should. And it's not just quality of business as far as placement of business, but it's what's my net placement of agents, right? We used to track this a lot back in 2012, 13, 14, but agent retention. So it's like, how long do I actually not only just make a new rider, but how long does an agent actually stay in my organization? You know, does my average agent quit after 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year and a half? So like that's another form of placement. Am I placing good business as a producer, and am I teaching my producers to do the same thing? And am I placing good agents into this business, right? Because it's one thing. I won't get into the semantics of it, but it's one thing to recruit a whole bunch of people, right? It's another thing to bring about a whole bunch of new riders and consistent riders that allow you to grow and have a very strong business over a long period of time. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's like that's for me, whenever I'm talking with my financial officer, like that's the first thing that I want to know of whenever it comes to our actual insurance businesses. I really like submit numbers are great, but we all know we get paid on net place. So I want to know what our net place number is. And then I want to know like what's the quality of that? Like what's that ratio between what our agents are submitting and what they place? Because I know if my agents are only placing, like I look back over this past year, we wrote $55 million worth of business and placed 71% of it. Right. Because if my agents are not placing at a high level, then that means they're doing a lot of work that they're not getting paid for. And what do you all do whenever you do a lot of work that you don't get paid for? You quit, right? You go find something else to do. So it doesn't matter. Like you can have a $50,000 producer submit wise, but if that $50,000 producer is only issuing 20%, do you think that $50,000 producer is going to be there for a while? Same thing for your builders, right? If you have someone who is building and they recruit 100 people a month, like contracted, right? Ready to write business, but only 2 of those 100 are on the team a year later, how do you think they're going to start feeling about their ability to actually lead a team? Well, one, they're not leading a team, right? They're not building a team. They're bringing some transients in that come in and maybe write a little bit of business and then disappear. And what are they going to do? They're going to get tired as well. So that quality of business, that placement rate, both on the production side, but also on the building side, that is so vital because no one wants to get tired out doing the work that they're doing. And no one wants to work and not get paid. And if you're recruiting and not turning those recruits into riders and riders that stay along long term, then you're doing a lot of work that you're not getting paid for. You're actually probably paying for that work because you're having to pay for your recruiting systems, the staff to help support that, ads, this, that, and the other, and you're putting in, of course, the hours to do that. So that would be like on those 2 sides of the business, the 2 boxes that Casey talks about, those would be the 2 areas that I would say that's what I would pay the most attention to. And if you're continuing to make that number go up, then I promise you all the other numbers that you're concerned about are going to start going up as well.
Gotcha. Now that is so good. All right, 2 more questions for you. As people are leveling up, I think you talked about belief a little bit, right? But I think this business is such a business of mindset, right? When you're going into something. So, I mean, what is a mindset that you've had as you've gone through this? I know it's grown over the years, but as you're going through that, when you're tackling your next goal, when you're trying to get to that next level, or if you're talking to someone and your agent that's trying to get there, what's the mindset that you're going to kind of encourage them or challenge them on?
So I'm gonna give this in 2 parts. Obviously we talk about having a growth mindset, right? Seeing this from that perspective of you may not know it, you may not understand it all, but you're going to grow into it. You're going to grow into the person that can hit that goal or get to that next level that you're trying to do. The other aspect and the other side of it is an abundance mindset. Like you want to be in the growth mindset where you believe that you can grow into it, but then also not sabotage it by this protectionism, the like, I have to grab it or someone else is going to take it. Um, I see whenever people get into that mindset, like they can have a growth mindset that they're going to grow into something, but they're trying to grow in a hurry because they think someone else is going to take their cheese. Does that make sense? Like they try to rush it, they try to push, all the time. They don't take the time that they need to actually learn the things that they need to learn, to make the mistakes that they need to make. They don't, I can't. Switchboard is a perfect example. And I guess I'm thinking about it because you're sitting right there, Frank. But it's like the agents who they see that this could be something amazing for them, but they won't spend the 4 or 5 hours to go through the manual and the guide to actually learn how to use the system properly so that they can actually use the system. They're just jumping like, I got to get it and just go do it. Like, why can't they get it to me faster? Well, take your time, learn it, and get it so that when you actually get it, you can use it correctly and actually see growth from it. Because guess what? It's not going away. Like it's there. It's not going to disappear. It's like, how could you not have an abundance mindset about a service like that, right? Symmetry is providing it. It's going to be there. It's not going away. But people still behave in this mindset of lack, this mindset of kill or be killed, this mindset of dog eat. Like that's where we've all been trained and taught. And, it comes from the hierarchical structure of W-2 positions, right? Like the only way you can become the manager is to get rid of the existing manager, right? Either he has to get promoted for you to get his job, or he has to die, or he has to quit, right? Like that's the only way to get what he has. That's just not the way it really works for those who are entrepreneurs and those who are building large businesses. Like I promise you, people like a Elon Musk and a Warren Buffett and Ed Milet and Tony Robb, like the list goes on and on. They're not thinking about what their competitors have or what contract level their competitors give out or what products that their competitors, like they're not thinking about any of that. They just know what they have, and that they know that there's this huge open opportunity, and they're going to take 100% advantage of it and not let those other worries slow them down. But we do that all the time. We're always worried about the other people, the other guys, the other, and we're saying we want to grow. We still have a growth mindset, like we're growing, but we're still worried about, like, why am I worried about that if I have an abundant growth mindset? If I have those two things in tandem, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. You know, it doesn't matter what they offer, because you're going to be able to grow through any problem, any challenge that you face. And you know, when you grow through it, there's going to be more than enough there for you as your business grows, as your team grows, whether it's leads, whether it's products, whether it's services, it's going to be there for you. And to have that and fully believe that, that allows for the fastest growth that I've seen in people, is when they truly have a growth mindset that's anchored in abundance.
There are some things that are deep there that I want to unpack, but they would take hours. My brain is just digging. So what about behaviors then? And I think this all leads into it, right? I think it all starts with the mindset we go, but to get there, what behaviors do we need to be looking at changing, right? And at all levels, that can help us kind of level up a little bit quicker.
Behaviors. I mean, and I don't want to start with assumptions, but like I assume that you're reading, you know. And when I say reading, it's not, let me just digest this thing. It's, if I'm reading a book, I'm looking for that one or two things from that book that I'm going to go and make actual changes in my life. Like I think it's pointless to read a book that's a nonfiction book. A fiction book, you're just reading for fun, you're enjoying the story. But if I'm reading a nonfiction book, and especially if I'm reading a personal development or a business building book, I'm not reading it for enjoyment. I'm reading it to make changes in me. So if I'm reading that book, I'm looking for what is that one or two things that I can take from this book and go implement after I'm done with it, so that I actually start making a change, so that I'm doing something different after I read this book than before. It's one of the reasons, like, I mean, I have so many books on repeat because there's so many books that, like, I took my one or two things, but there's like 50 things in the book that I probably need to be doing. So I'm having to go back and reread chapters here and there, so that I can start to actually implement some of those things in my daily habits. The other thing that I would say from a behavior standpoint is, and it's something I still work on, I'm still trying to figure out and get better at, but really have not lying to myself about my schedule. Like being very clear with, like, when and where, like, if I can't do it, I can't do it. I have to say no. If I say I'm going to do it, I can't book something on top of it or right up next to it. One of my biggest challenges for myself this year is 15-minute white spaces. 15-minute white spaces. Like, I have to have 15 minutes in between a meeting, because if I do back to back to back to back to back meetings, like, I'm not actually being productive. Right. I know, like, there's a lot of meetings I could be in, and that's why I've had to say this year, nope, can't do that one. Nope, you're gonna have to go ahead. You guys handle it, send me a report on it, and we'll go from there. But wherever your schedule is right now, like, are you actually putting in the work? And that's what I have to stop myself, and, you know, at least once a quarter, I have to reevaluate. Am I actually putting in the work that I think I'm doing, or I say that I'm doing, that's actually moving me closer towards the goals that I'm working on? So, you know, I think there's a lot of the meetings and a lot of the space that we put in our calendars. It's filler. You know, at the end of the day, people ask me all the time, like, how do you still produce and maintain the schedule that you have? Because I'm trying to take out as much of the filler stuff as I possibly can. Like I don't have to be a part of every meeting for my companies. That's ego speaking when I feel like I have to be the one to make the final decision. I've empowered a lot of people and delegated to a lot of people the power and the authority to make decisions, and it's okay for them to be wrong, you know, so that I can actually go and do things that are going to be beneficial and constructive for my business, as opposed to me just moving this pile of paper from here to here, and then just doing that on repeat. So it's things like that. Those would be two key behaviors that I would say if I'm trying to really grow and be better tomorrow than I was today. If I put my focus on what I'm reading and the changes that I'm making because of and my schedule, then I'm gonna win every time. I'm gonna beat everybody else because very few people are really doing that on a consistent basis. People's schedules are great for 3 weeks, and then week 4, whatever happens, and they never recover for the rest of the year. So it's just like, are you checking in with that from time to time? It's great to put it all into Google Calendar, but are you actually following what you put down in that calendar?
Yeah, and that's who has a hard time with their schedule and keeping that good. Um, Constantly. All right, I want to be respectful of the time we block with you, but this one just popped into my head, and I just go, what is driving you or motivating you to produce? Because it is crazy annoying to see you at your level and on leaderboards as a producer. Slash really, really amazing, but like what is like why? And I mean, because like Danny says, we want to catch what you have. Why, give us the why.
The simplest why is because I haven't done it before. And if I'm building my base shop and I'm talking about switchboard, and I'm talking about virtual sales, I mean, it's why I was lucky enough having started to do virtual sales before we put together the COVID committee that Cicely brought together, right? Um, and a couple of other people had been doing it, but like it was a blessing in disguise that I had already been doing that. So we had some examples of some things to start with, even if it was just on the debt-free life side that I was doing those appointments. I had not been using Switchboard, right? Like Switchboard was brand new. I didn't grow up doing Switchboard. So I'm building my base shop. I'm encouraging my agents to get out there and use it. I have to be out there using it. Now, if I was not building my base shop, or I had delegated my base shop to somebody else, then they would or should be doing what I'm doing right now. But I haven't done that. I'm still working to push my base shop to, get my base shop up to, I have a goal where I want it to be by the end of this year. And I'm going to continue to push that. And then, as I was doing it, what I started realizing is something that Casey told me a long time ago is that this business is probably the best ATM machine you'll ever find. And I mean, I've been able to finance and fund so many really cool things. And even as I push to do other investments and other businesses right now, my backup plan is always, well, I'm just raking in the cash with insurance. And if I can't find someone else to help me do it, I'll do it myself, and that's the beauty of this business. I mean, I think December, I think, well, I think December, I closed out December with like, I think just a little over 31,000 in total production. I think I got 92% of that issued. And I know what carriers to write. Like I'm not sending up a whole bunch of Transamerica and Gerber. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just not doing that. It's SPLI, it's John Hancock, it's American Amicable, it's Foresters. Like, that's all I write. And I think the total commission paid out for December was like $43,000 on $31,000 worth of business. I mean, like, and that it was only like 26 apps like that, and I may have put in total for the whole month. Because I spent one of those weeks, right, Marty? I spent one of those weeks on a Disney cruise in December. So that was 3 weeks of work, and it may have been 40 hours worth of work in total for all those applications. That's how simple this stuff has been made for us. And why wouldn't I do that? Like, I can find 40 hours to make 40 grand. I'm okay with $1,000 an hour. Like maybe one day, one day I might charge 10 grand an hour, but like right now I'm good with $1,000 an hour. Like I'm totally okay with that.
So would you say it's easier now to do this than it's ever been?
Yes, that's. I mean, and I don't say that. I don't say that to belittle anybody who's in the business right now. Like there were the things that we had to do when we had to do them, but like this this has been made so much more simple than it has ever been, and it's continuing to get more simple. The work though, the connecting with people, the reaching out to people, the picking up the phone, the texting, however you're doing that, like that's still work. That's still emotional labor. That's still something you have to put your heart in to actually be able to get something out. And every now and again, it's gonna hit you back, right? And that hasn't changed. That's not any easier. That part of it is the same because we're still dealing with people. But the technology, what the carriers have done, like it has made it so it has just it can't have ever been simpler than this. It just can't. Like you fill out an application 8 minutes and tell the client that they're approved, and then you get paid the next day. How much simpler can you get? And we have to embrace the toughness of it. It's just being consistent with what we do and diving into that that fight, right? Of I got to get on the phones. I got to talk to people. Somebody's gonna tell me no. Somebody's gonna, and maybe it's just because I've been beating my head against that wall for 15 years that I'm just like I'm okay with it. Tell me no. Like I really don't care about the no's. Like I know my clients are out there, and I found 26 of them last month, right? And the one, and there were plenty of people who told me no via text and all sorts of colorful ways, and that's fine. That's them. They're doing them. I'm doing me. They're gonna find the best thing for them in their life, and I'm gonna really continue to enjoy mine.
Yeah. Well, all right. Any last little we always get sprinkle a little Edward in here. Any last little nugget you would give a group of leaders as we're moving into this year and we have the whole year ahead of us?
One thing I'm really focused on right now, and I think all of us should, is really starting to see our businesses as a business. Let's get out of this small business mindset. Stop calling your business a small business if you ever have. Um, you know, Even if you fit the SBA definition of a small business, you're not building a small business. You're building a legacy enterprise. You should be wanting to build. If you're in this room, like I wouldn't say this to just a whole bunch of agents out there, but from what Marty is saying, that you all in this room are, is you're wanting to build a business. You're wanting to grow something that is bigger than you and goes beyond you. So start behaving in that way. Start thinking about your business in that way. When you vision cast for what you're trying to do, the staff that you're going to need, um, think of it in those terms, because you go back to Think and Grow Rich, right? And that's one. If you haven't picked that one up in a while, please pick it up and actually follow the instructions in the book. Um, if you can think it, if you can believe it and start to see it, that's the only way it becomes reality. Symmetry Financial Group didn't exist 14 years ago. Brandon and Casey sat down in a room and they thought it, and they said, we can do this, we believe it, and then they went on to do it. And every year they have rethought this business, and you see what it's doing year after year after year after year. So are you doing that for your business? And if you are, what are you thinking? Here's the thing, you are doing that. You're thinking about your business. You're bringing your business into reality right now. But what are you thinking? Are you thinking of your business as a multi-million dollar, legacy business that has, 20 staff that handle all the operations, and you go in to keep it moving forward every now and again? Or are you thinking of it as this, you know, this job that I have that I'm tied down to all these horrible agents who just keep calling me all the time, and I got to deal with lead issues, and dang it, Symmetry home office messed up again, and like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking whenever you think about your business? Because what you think on, what you dwell on when it comes to your business is what you're going to continue to get. I love hearing people talk about the home office, and I give them their 20 or 30 minutes, and I go wash my ears and I say, you know what? Here's what it is. This is what we're working on. This is the next level that we're working to get to. This is what I'm helping this company grow into, because we're a billion-dollar enterprise that has to go through its growing pains. We're going through growing pains, and we're going to get there. We're going to get there together, and we're going to get there connected, because the Pritchett agency and the Cemetery Home Office work side by side with one another. And that's how my staff feel. That's what my staff talk about. That's how I talk to my agents. Anybody else can believe how they want to believe about it, but that's how we're going to believe it, see it, think it, and that's going to be our reality. So what are you thinking? What are you thinking about when it comes to your business? And if you're not directing those thoughts and you're letting circumstances direct them for you, then you're letting somebody else build your business. And I don't think that the people in this room want to continue to do that.
Dude, that's amazing. Edward, man, thank you for taking the time and, in the middle of dropping your daughter off and all that stuff. I would encourage you to work your schedule better. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. No, like you said, you're working on it, right? We're all working on it.
We're all working. Well, so here's the thing, Marty. Like, the other thing I could have done was said no, but I didn't want to say no.
No, I know.
I had to make it work.
And we're very grateful. Do we get to see you in Asheville for the leadership retreat there?
Yep, I will be there in March. And anybody going to the Foresters trip?
Can we do? Yeah.
All right, Dave. I'll see you down. I'll see you down in Punta Mita here in a couple weeks.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Edward, man. You go spend time with your family. Thank you.
All right. You guys take care. Appreciate you guys.
See that? See what happens when you take a jab at the beast?
Oh,